What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Bird Flock podcast. We got a major guest today, probably the biggest that we've had so far. First off, I'm going to introduce him. We got it's a long list, by the way. It's going to take me some time to go through this one. Three-time Grey Cup champion, nine-time CFL All-Star, 11-time East All-Star, two-time most outstanding O-lineman, five-time most outstanding O-lineman for the East, the 10th CFLPA president, a CFL Hall of Hamer, and the current head coach of the Saskatchewan University. Scott Flory, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure. I don't know if I can't be your best guest or biggest guest or whatever. Come on, you got current players out there that are much more relevant than I am, but I appreciate you having me on.
Hey man, for the nostalgia reason, growing up, man, you were one of the guys to watch, man.
You're saying I'm old then, is what you're saying.
I
All right.
would never say that. Absolutely not. All right, so we're gonna kick it off here. Obviously, playing in Montreal, you're part of great teams in Montreal. Montreal just won the Grey Cup. Seeing the fans and the way everything was celebrated, does that throw it back for you and kind of had you reminiscing on some good times?
Oh, absolutely. I would like to note for the record my part in willing the team to victory as well, because I know we run around like a kids. I'm out here halfway across the country, but I made a point to go and get some Schwartz's smoked meat, and we had it that day. And I had smoked meat sandwiches the whole second half, and I think it. I like to think I did my part to propel the boys to victory. But just watching, like, and I mean, seeing old teammates on the coaching staff. I mean, AC, Anthony Calvillo, and Luc Bourdeur-Jourdain. I mean, a part of the coaching staff and those guys that have been there that have won a championship. I mean, AC and I were together there back in 2002 when we won the first one in 25 years in Montreal. Man, it was unreal. Just the parade and just the flood of memories and just I spent 15 years of my life there in that city, and it's just a phenomenal time, and just so happy for the team and to get back and to winning championships again.
So from one champ to another, obviously it was a long stretch where Montreal didn't win, but like I said before, you had won three of them. What made those teams? I know it was different years, but at one point you went back to back. What made those three teams that you were on that won the Grey Cup so special?
Oh man, we lost five though too, right? Like I played in 8 Grey Cups, so it's one of those where I think that with anything, sometimes you're just happy to get there, and I think early in the career it's like, oh, it's going to happen all the time, and then you start to realize just how much work and time and effort and just how special that group and that team has to be able to win a championship. Winning is hard, period, at any level in any sport. You get it to professional sport where the playing field and the caps and all that kind of stuff is designed for parity. It is incredibly hard. The level of the difference of the athletes isn't necessarily as big as it is in college or high school or even amateur sport. So when you look at all the other factors that go into that and how you develop and grow and bring a team together, I think the CFL is one of the hardest things to be able to do, to be able to bring the guys together, because you're talking about guys from all over North America, coming from way different football backgrounds and from top end Power Five schools in the NCAA to all across U Sports, all across this country. But yeah, I mean, when you look at it at the end of it, if you're going to win a championship, it is about the locker room. It's about the leadership in the locker room, and it's about the group of men that you have leading within the locker room. I think that's vitally important.
And going from the whole team to a smaller aspect of the team, maybe the greatest unit I've ever seen in my entire life, and I say that growing up as an offensive lineman, was kind of that core of the offensive lineman that you were part of that stayed together for so long. Guys like Paul Lambert, Josh Bork, Jeff Parrott, Brian Chew, just to name some. Like I said, it was probably the most dominant unit of my life that I've seen. What was about that group of guys that you guys work so well together, and do you guys still stay in touch and do you try and get them to come out and coach with you or?
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Most of those guys are out east, so yeah. I mean, yeah, we got the group chat going, all that stuff for sure. I think I was pretty lucky because I spanned a couple different eras there. So coming in '98 after I got drafted, I ended back at playing my last year at the University of Saskatchewan. But when I came in '99, I mean, it was myself, it was Pierre Verschuel, who's a Hall of Famer, it was Uzumo Keke, who's a Hall of Famer. Neil Fort was a phenomenal former NFL Baltimore Stallion, multi Grey Grey Cup champion. Brian Chu ended up playing 12 years with. He's not, but will be soon in the Hall of Fame, no doubt about it. So that offensive line in 2000, 2001, you got four like Hall of Fame guys on that, and we want to know too, and then there's a little bit of a transitionary period, a little bit. I know myself and Chu kind of became constants there, but then as Uzo retired and Verch retired, is how he kind of brought in the next wave, and that's when you're talking about Josh Burke, who just got inducted into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. You add in Jeff Parrott, Luc Bourdeur-Jourdain, and then Paul Lambert, Andrew Woodruff. Guys like that. We had an all-Canadian offensive line. Don't forget about Luke Fritz and Dave Mudge. I mean, there's 7 Canadians right there, and proud Canadian guys that were offensive linemen, and all playing together, man. So I kind of spanned the two, distinct but incredibly talented and really good groups to be a part of, and yeah, it was it was special. It was a fun group to be a part of.
Yeah, you just touched on some massive names there in history of CFL coming in. Obviously, everyone comes in as a rookie, comes in young. Was there a guy that kind of stuck out to you and took you under your wing? And then towards the back part of your career, was there someone that you maybe took under your wing and taught them how to be a pro, not only on and but off the field as well?
Yeah, when I came in, it was Pierre Verschuel was right at the end of his career, and he was a massive influence for me. I just remember like just man, I would just try to do what he did. You know what I mean? try to study film, try to work out, try to eat, try to mimic how professional he was, and tried to be like him. And he was gracious enough as a 13, 14-year vet at the time to take a 21-year-old kid from Saskatchewan under his wing, and I'll forever be indebted for that. And still a good friend with Pierre now. Every time I see him, I mean, it's just an outstanding man. And then Neil Fort and I were real close to playing beside him for years. And then I think that was something that for myself, especially as I got along in my career, especially once you hit double digits in the back half, is trying to you start to think a little bit about the standards that I came in with, that tried to adhere to, and then how are you going to leave the program as well, and what are the standards within it, and hope that carries forward beyond your time. So I try to do my part. I mean, bring along guys like LBJ. I mean, that's still there. He's coaching. Still phenomenal friends with these guys, and I know I could go 2 years without seeing them, and the next time I see them, it's like yesterday. And that's just part of when you're part of championships with men like that. That's the effect that it has.
You also said, and obviously people know, you spent your whole career here. You spent 15 years here. At one point, did you realize that like this was kind of your second home and you didn't want to play for anybody else, and you kind of went into the community more and more?
Yeah, we moved out there permanently. I was kind of going back and forth for the first part of my career, and moved out there permanently after my second son was born in 2006. And we stayed, we loved it. We didn't want to leave. It was just there was an opportunity back here, back home, that was a little bit too good to pass up. That it has me where I am today, doing something I love and being the head coach at my alma mater in the University of Saskatchewan, back here in Saskatoon. So it wasn't by design to leave. We had planned. We love Montreal. We miss it a ton. My daughter was born there. She was born an hour before kickoff in a preseason game. That's kind of a funny story, but yeah, just like overlooking the field, like it was kind of weird. So yeah, I mean, we got close ties there, and yeah, I mean, Montreal is a phenomenal city. It's a world-class city, and we met great people, great community.
I know for me and Dawson, something that I hope you remember, but if you don't, I'll let it slide. But something that we remember a lot was the Scott Flory Jamboree for the Western Patriots.
Yeah.
And it's something that we did growing up. I think it was a few years. But you just said how much you love Montreal. You didn't want to leave. What do you miss most about the city and stuff like that?
Oh man, I'm trying to lose weight, get back down to pre-offensive lineman days, but the food is a big part of it, and obviously the friendships too. I mean, you talk about that jamboree or with the Western Patriots. I mean, I tried to do stuff in the community as much as I could, right, and having a young family and playing, and then I ended up getting connected with a phenomenal man who's still a close friend. We text very often, and every time I'm out there, I see a Jim Beauchamp and Cunningham's Pub out there, and give a plug there to Cunningham's Pub out in St. Anne's. But I mean, Jim is he's a phenomenal man, and I got connected with him, and he was his sons, and they were connected with the Western Patriots, and like they want to do this tournament, and I'm like, man, what can I do to help? And like they did a ton of work and used my name. I was more than happy to be there and to be a part of it and to get guys out. And I think that grassroots stuff, I remember being that 8, 10-year-old kid and having hope and seeing guys and just want to stay involved with the sport and what specifically Jim and what everybody in the Western Patriots and just being a part of it. I think is a big part of it for any athlete should want to give back because somebody gave you your start at one point.
Yeah, I'm still best friends with Jim's youngest son, so still a great guy, and you can plug Cunningham's anytime. Don't worry about that one.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
moving on to your next phase in football, and you talked about it, you couldn't pass it up. You went to Saskatchewan, like you said, your alma mater, took the OC job. Um, is it something you knew at the end of your career that you wanted to go into coaching, or it's just when they offered you, you couldn't refuse?
No, I knew pretty early in my playing career that I wanted to get into coaching. So I graduated with an engineering degree, civil engineer I guess by trade or by schooling. But um, after my first couple of years of playing, and I did work a little bit, and I just knew that football was a path that I wanted to be involved with. So I started doing all the coaching clinics and football Saskatchewan stuff way back when. Before we moved to Montreal, and when I got there to Montreal, I tried to do as much as I could in the community. I go to McGill spring camps and Concordia and try to help out. I had an O-line clinic stuff that we used to do and try to organize. I knew it was going to be a part of my life. And then, after I was done playing, I had opportunities in the CFL, and not that I didn't, not that like at that time you had a young family and all that kind of stuff, and it just worked out. I knew I wanted to be involved in the sport. I love the game. I love the coaching side of it, and I had an opportunity to come back and get involved. And then my wife too, and she was she had worked previously with the provincial government here in Saskatchewan. It all worked out and it all aligned that it got us back here. And yeah, and it ended up me, taking over the program here too, which is kind of one of those dream gigs.
Did Montreal ever know that you wanted to get into coaching? Like, was there ever a discussion where you would have just stayed there and moved from playing to coaching?
Yeah. Oh yeah. When Jim was taking over, he tried to at the end. I had a couple opportunities there in the CFL, and there was a chance to stay, and yeah, but it wasn't. It for me. It just wasn't the right fit at the time, and the one of the things with coaching pro is that you got to understand that you know odds are you're not going to be in the same place for very long. Some people are exceptions to rules, but it just wasn't something that I was ready for at the time, and an opportunity came up with get back here to the university level, and this is great ball here, and I love coaching at the University of Saskatchewan.
And since you've taken over, I guess there was like 1 year kind of grace period, but since then,
Yeah.
you've had a lot of success, obviously, and people that watch college football definitely know about that. So, how much did you take from coaches that you got coached from, or play older players, and bring it to Saskatchewan with your like teaching younger kids?
Yeah, my first year we sucked. I mean, we got hired late, putting together new staff and all that kind of stuff. It was just a whirlwind, just everything that goes along with being a head coach, and just it was drinking out of a fire hose, man. It just was. But you know what? That builds you. If anything, it's everything is a learning moment there, and I learned a ton what to do, what not to do. I think at the end of it, any coach, you got to be authentic. You got to be who you are, because you're going to be in those moments where you can't be fake. I'm not smart enough to try and be I just not how I operate, right? Like I try to be as genuine as possible and surround myself here with good men and good family men that are going to teach the values to these young men that I want taught to them. The football side of it's easy. It's all the other stuff outside of it. But I think you do. Like I catch myself, I'll say Trustmanisms all the time. And, I think of Don Matthews often. I think those two guys that were big impact, um, from a coaching standpoint on me for sure, from a head coach. And then I had numerous position coaches that were all really, really good. And yeah, I think for me, from a head coaching aspect, I think those two men were those were big influences, and obviously my college head coach, who I got to coach under, who's a Hall of Famer as well, and then be a colleague, played under, was a colleague, and then able to take over the program from Brian Towers was also a massive impact on me in my career as well. I wouldn't be here without him. So.
Is there like I'm assuming you still lean on him and he helps you, but is there other people that you still lean on that coached you that you might just say, hey, something arose and for my first time in my career, I don't know how to handle it type of thing?
A good friend of mine who actually was a teammate back in, I think, 2004, Brad Collinson, he's current head coach at Concordia. Brad and I are close, and we always, having beers, I don't know if I could swear on this thing, but
Yeah, you can.
we shoot the shit back and forth, and we do. So it's one of those, and also for me, part of by design in being a new head coach and on staff here is Jerry Friesen. So Jerry, he's a former Alouette too. He played here at the University of Saskatchewan. He played with the Alouettes. He had a 7-8 year CFL career, and he was a head coach at the university level as well, at the University of Alberta for 10 years. So when I took over as head coach, I had the opportunity to bring Coach Freeze back to Saskatchewan, and he's been a huge impact too. I mean, I just every day just shooting stuff off him and spitballing is like, whether it's a sounding board, but he's got great advice and great perspective, and he's a massive influence and impact here at our program.
So now that you know right now in this moment what it is what it takes to be a good coach and kind of coaches that you could see that you want, throw it back to the days of your playing days. Aside from like the guys that are coaching now, like you talked about, AC and Luc Brodeur-Jardin, are there guys that you saw during your playing days that you're surprised aren't coaching right now?
Well, first off, I don't think I know. It's a continual learning process. So what I know today is going to change or should get better hopefully tomorrow, right? But yeah, I mean, listen, I played with like Brian Bratton is coaching down at with the Indianapolis Colts as a receiver coach, right?
Mhm.
Like Marcus Brady is, I think he just got an OC job somewhere
Yeah.
else in the NFL. Yeah, I mean, there's guys that I know that are giving back at the amateur level as well, depending on where their lives took them and what their occupation, what they want to do now. But yeah, I mean, Jeff Parrott, I think he's still coaching. He's down in New York and his family down there, and he's involved with high school ball and stuff like that. There's a ton of guys that throughout the states that are involved at the high school level. Like it all depends on kind of where and what you want to get into. The coaching life in south of the border is a little bit different than north of the border, and but there's all those guys. I think that you can't like. It's pretty rare that you can play professionally and not be coachable unless you're just but even still, to have longevity and to play and to have a career. I mean, Brian Chu, you bring up another guy. Brian Chu's been coaching the CFL. He's a head coach out at top high school in Vancouver at Vancouver College out there, and just won back-to-back provincial titles. I just saw him here a couple months ago. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of stuff that like. And I think that guys, when you end up playing and you stay in that for a long, long time, and you know, it becomes a big part of you, and you want to give back, and you just love the game. Otherwise, you wouldn't be playing it for that long. So it's a way to stay connected too.
Yeah, so now your connections, like you just said, Brian Chu, talking to him, I'm sure you've gone and recruited some of his guys. And then on the other aspect, AC and LBJ probably talked to you about recruiting some of your guys and seeing, for the draft and stuff like that. How much has that connection helped you kind of push your guys along more to the CFL and then helped you recruit for your team?
Yeah, I mean the recruiting part for me here within the province. I mean, I stick to basically Western Canada. Yeah, I mean, I think yeah, I mean for sure. I've been fortunate to be a part of great teams and have success. So I think there's some credibility there with that, and I think that our track record and what we surround ourselves, what I've been able to surround myself with here from coaches. We've got good reputational standing, as which can be lost in a heartbeat. But I think that we do. When I look at my athletes here and trying to get guys to fulfill their dreams and trying to help them along the way to fulfill their dreams, I know we've had a first round pick in the last 6 years, and every year in the last 6 years, something like that. I don't know how many years, but it's, and we've had a ton of guys drafted here and given them the opportunity to fulfill dreams and get a paycheck to play the game. It is just that, though. It is an opportunity, and I'm not about whatever team picks them. That to me, that's irrelevant to me. Of course, I'd love guys to go to Montreal and have success out there for sure. But I just want them to be in a good spot and be able to do what I can to help them. The one thing I don't do is I don't like when I recruit on this side of things. I'm transparently honest with guys, and I am on going out with the CFL as well. So if I'm ever going to recommend a guy, it's somebody I think that has the ability or capability to fit in the locker room and be able to play at that level.
All right, and I just got one last question for you, and it's
Uh,
a two-part question, and I'm sure you probably know what's coming. Um, Obviously, last year there was a hole at the head coach position for the Montreal Alouettes. Did you ever get interested in going for that position? I know you want to stick with Saskatchewan, you want to stay loyal to your guys, but was there ever a thought in the back of your head? And the second part of the question, Anthony Calvillo was also up for the head coaching position. Was there ever a thought maybe, hey, you go and join him if he gets it?
Uh, I'll put it to you this way. I love my job. I love my spot. I love what I do. I've got my one son's a receiver and my other son I just recruited. He's a quarterback. So I'm going to have both my sons on my team next year, and I've got a daughter that's still in like 8th grade here. So I don't doubt at some point, Shayne, I will. It wouldn't surprise me. I may end up being here for the rest of my career. I could also see gravitating back to professional football. It's just different. Like, you lose some of that connection, recruiting, all that kind of stuff, but the coaching side of things and the athletes are pretty special. So the timing's not right for me now, though. My kids are on my team, and and my daughter and everything. So who knows, though? Someday, could be soon. I just don't know, but that would be pretty neat, though, to coach with AC. It'd be pretty neat to be back in Montreal. If I ever do go the professional route, maybe it'll end up back there. I just don't know. But I know I'm going to be involved with the sport of football, and I know I love the game, and I love at least trying to help what I know about the game and impart it on some young men anyway.
Yeah, I think I speak for everybody when I say we would love to have you back in the city and coaching for this team, especially with all the success you've had in university. But Scott, that's all I've got for you today. I just want to thank you again for coming on, and obviously good luck, and hopefully you see you guys back in the Vanier Cup this year.
I appreciate that. And one last plug for Jim out at Cunningham's. Go get some wings, man. I'm just sitting here just thinking about the wings and like, oh, anyway, I appreciate you having me on and what you do and helping, give more exposure to not only the CFL, the game of football, but especially the Alouettes and what they do, because I know it's a first class organization with Mark Waitman back there as president as well. Mark is an outstanding man. And that's really good. They're going the right way with Danny and with Jason and all that kind of stuff. So I appreciate you having me on. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I appreciate you.